All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in the IT universe, the Configuration Management Database, or as we all know it, the CMDB. Seriously, think of it as the master map for your entire complex digital world. Let's dive in. You know the feeling, right? It's the question that probably keeps a lot of you up at night. You make one tiny little change, something you think is totally harmless, and then, bam, the whole system starts to fall apart. It's that classic butterfly effect, and it happens when you just can't see all the invisible threads connecting everything in your environment.
And you know how it always starts with that one simple alert. A server goes offline. Okay, deep breaths. It's not great, but it seems manageable. The team gets the ticket and starts digging.
But then, the real trouble begins. The help desk phones start lighting up like a Christmas tree. Turns out, a critical, customer-facing application is completely down. Now the pressure is really on. How in the world is that one offline server connected to this application? The clock is ticking, loudly. So as the team frantically digs deeper, they realize the app relies on a database they didn't even know was part of the picture. And that's when you get to the final, terrifying question that echoes through the war room. Who is actually responsible for this thing? Who has the keys? This is that exact moment where a small problem explodes into a full-blown business-halting crisis. So yeah, that whole nightmare scenario, that's what we call IT chaos. And it's pretty much the direct result of trying to operate without a map. When you don't have a clear, reliable guide to your own infrastructure, every single incident feels like you're just fumbling around a maze in the dark. And that is where the CMDB steps in. It is the IT blueprint that brings order to all of that chaos. It's designed to be this single source of truth that turns that dark, confusing maze into a well-lit, clearly labeled map that anyone can read. So, what is a CMDB, really? Well, at its core, yeah, it's a database. But it's a special kind of database. It's a central place built to hold information about every single piece of your IT environment. And this is the most important part, right here. It tracks how all those pieces are connected to each other. Now, the building blocks of any CMDB are called configuration items, or CIs for short. A CI is really just anything in your IT world that you need to keep track of. We're talking servers, applications, routers, databases, those cloud VMs. If it's part of your tech stack, it should probably be a CI. Okay, so let's break down the language here. You have your CIs, which are the assets themselves. Each of those CIs belongs to a class, like, say, server. Then you have attributes, which are just the properties of that CI, like its IP address or who owns it. But the real magic, the secret sauce, is in the relationships. This is the part that tells you an application runs on a server. These connections are what turn a boring list of assets into a powerful, living map. All right, so we get what the map is made of, but how do we actually draw it? I mean, where does all this amazing, detailed information even come from to get into the CMDB? Well, there are a few key ways to populate your CMDB. For the physical gear in your data centers, you've got automated tools like ServiceNow Discovery that can just go out and scan the network for you. For cloud services and SaaS apps, you can use API connectors to pull data in directly. And hey, sometimes you just need to do a one-time load from a good old-fashioned spreadsheet. The trick is just using the right tool for the job. But wait a minute. This brings up a really important question. If you have all these different sources just pouring data into one place, how do you stop it from becoming a total disaster? How do you prevent creating 5 different records for the exact same server? The answer is something called the Identification and Reconciliation Engine, or the IRE. The best way to think about it is like a super strict but fair bouncer for your CMDB. First, it identifies if the data that's trying to get in matches something that's already there. If it finds a match, it then has to reconcile the information, deciding which data source it trusts the most. Only then does it go ahead and create or update the record. Finally, it connects it to everything else by mapping its relationships. Nothing gets in unless it passes the test. So, we've built our map, and we've got a bouncer at the door keeping the data clean as it comes in. But we're not done. Your IT environment is constantly shifting and changing. So the next big challenge is making sure this map reflects what's real right now, not what was real 6 months ago. I mean, this scenario right here is the absolute worst. A stale CMDB can actually be more dangerous than having no CMDB at all. Because when your teams start making critical decisions based on bad, outdated information, they're going to make mistakes. And that's exactly why good governance, having clear processes for ownership, for audits, for the entire CI lifecycle is completely non-negotiable. Now, to help with all that, platforms like ServiceNow actually measure the quality of your CMDB with a health score. This isn't just a vague gut feeling. It's a real metric based on 4 key pillars. You've got completeness, making sure data isn't missing; correctness, ensuring the data is actually right; compliance, checking if your assets are following the rules; and of course, relationships, making sure all those connections still make sense. Let's see this in action. Imagine you open up your health dashboard and you see this: a completeness score of 65%. Oof, that is a big flashing red light telling you that a huge chunk of your assets are missing critical information. So you drill down and you find the culprit. More than a third of your servers, 400 of them, are basically orphans. They don't have an owner assigned. And without an owner, there's zero accountability. So the fix is clear. You need a process, maybe an automated workflow, to make sure every single server has an owner who's on the hook for keeping its data accurate. And after you implement that fix, boom, you check the dashboard again and your completeness score has jumped all the way to 90%. This just shows that CMDB health isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a constant cycle of measuring your data, finding the problems, and actively making it better. Okay, this is my favorite part. We have gone through all this trouble. We've built this beautiful, accurate map of our IT universe. We're keeping it clean. Now, what do we get for all that work? How does this actually make our lives better? Let's go all the way back to that crisis scenario from the beginning. A critical server just went offline. Without a CMDB, that's when the panic and the frantic searching begins. But with a healthy CMDB, you can ask a very simple question and get an answer instantly. And there it is, in seconds. The CMDB tells you every single business service, every application, every dependent database that is connected to that one failed server. You now know the full blast radius of the outage. You can prioritize your response. You can proactively call the right people. This is the difference between reactive chaos and strategic control. Let's flip the script. This time, the alert isn't for a server. It's for an application. The app itself is broken. Okay, where do you even start looking? Is it a code bug? The server it's on? The database? The network? It could be anything. The CMDB gives you the roadmap. It instantly shows you the application's entire technology stack, laid out perfectly. You can see the app runs on this server, which uses that database, which is plugged into a specific network switch. So instead of just guessing, your team has a clear, prioritized checklist of things to investigate. It cuts down the time to find the root cause like you wouldn't believe. So when you really think about it, a CMDB is so much more than just a database. Your entire IT infrastructure, every server, every bit of code, every connection, it's all constantly telling a story. And the only question you have to ask yourself is this: is your CMDB a reliable narrator telling you the clear, unvarnished truth? Or is it telling you a work of fiction?